How's it going, everyone? Jeff Chrysler here of Right Way Heritage Trimming and a detail enthusiast. And I'm here with this lovely TR6 for a new top installation. You can see here's his old top, and it's really tight to get down onto the snaps. Doesn't even want to go that far, and it's actually starting to pull away here at the window, and it's been patched, and it's time for a new top. It's beyond, and you can see this has gone hard and brittle as they do. So I'm going to be going through the steps. This luckily has still got its Velcro, and seals are still good and intact. That's often something that needs to get replaced separately. This Velcro is sewn to vinyl, which glues onto these frame rails all the way around, and then you've got these aluminum trim strips that screw up through it with your rubber seals. So sometimes you got to replace these Velcro pieces. We're not going to be doing that today, but I'll be removing the top anyway. And same thing in here, his webbing straps are still perfectly fine. They're all in good shape. There's no nicks or tears or anything, and and they're already set to the right dimensions there. So we're going to leave his webbing straps alone. So no Velcro, no webbing straps, just the top. So it should be pretty simple. As you can see on the inside of the top, you always want to take good documentation, the orientation of things, especially if I was going to be replacing these webbing straps. I would want to, once I get the top off, measure this and keep track of all the dimensions. And you've got these inner flaps that have snaps. This one's actually got to go other way around, but yeah, whenever you're putting the top up, and you can see there's the corresponding male parts on the top bow that these snap onto once it's around this side. Same thing at the back, you've got a snap flap sewn to the top that snaps to corresponding ones on the inner bow, rear bow there. And then at the back here, all it is, it's hard to see with the lighting, but there's a metal strip here that the top is wrapped under, and it's just bolted down. So pretty simple. And there's actually snaps on the outside that go into this metal strip as it sits on the body. So I can show you that. You can see here's this metal strip, and it kind of comes out and down, and it has snaps along here so that you can snap the boot cover in place, which is what you put on the top when it's all folded down. It's called the boot cover. So we're going to be doing all that, all new snaps in the new top, and yeah, I'll take you through it. So first step here, I'm going to be coming in with, I believe those are 7/16, and undoing that rear metal piece of steel and unsecuring the top from it. So actually the first step that I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up the top here. I've just unlatched it, and as you can see, you got a rubber top seal that goes in here. I'm going to carefully peel that out of there, and we'll see if we can reuse it. I might have to replace it. And then I'm going to lift the topping material, and you'll see it's usually riveted in there with a little corresponding strip that this rubber sits into. So once the rubber's out of there, you can see the strip, and you can see the rivets going through holding the top. Okay, so here I've pulled the rubber seal out of its track. You can see that's like a C-shaped channeling that's riveted in place through the top that holds it. So you got three pieces separated by where the latches are. And the topping material is just glued. It's just glued to the front leading edge and down in here. And so I'll drill through those rivets to remove these strips, and then just peel the top away from the frame. Okay, so I've just finished drilling out all of these rivets, so these pieces are all loose now. But as you can see, of course I always put towels and blankets down to protect the paintwork of anything I'm working on. And especially with this, as you can see, there's filings here. So before I lift all of these pieces out of here, I'm going to vacuum everything, and then I can lift them out and peel the top away. Okay, all vacuumed up, and now I can just go about lifting the topping here and peeling it back, nicely glued in place as it should be. And you'll notice, like on the top face, it'll be glued here, and that's when we go to install the new top. This is the first area we glue. We get it stuck on the outside, and then once it's all looking good, then we'll flip it around and glue it on the inside, as you'll see. Okay, so I've undone it from the top. I put a liberal coating of tape to protect the polished finisher here, because now there's no rubber seal to protect it. So I always remember to protect metal and paint wherever we can. So now I'm just pulling the top back, and we'll be undoing this rear metal bar. So I can pull the top back as far as it'll go, lay it out on the back there to give me easier access to those bolts that are going along the top edge there. Kind of hard to see, but yeah. Okay, and these are 7/16, so I'm just undoing these along the back here. And there's a series of them you can see there. So, and then we'll lift and peel the top away from this metal bar. Oh, and I should add, we've also got to drill out, once that metal bar is lifted, I mean, you can do it on the car too, but I prefer to lift the bar off and do it separately just to protect the car and paintwork. But yeah, we've got to drill out all of these rivets for these snaps that hold the top to the bar. So once we get it unbolted, then I'll drill them out so it's off of the car, and that will have the top off. Okay, now I've got the new top laid on the car, and I'm just putting in the rear metal bar again. Of course, starting off with the center, you mark your center lines, and it's just these two-sided snaps that go through. It's an 1/8 inch hole that you gotta poke through, so you gotta find the old holes there in there. I just go along with my awl, and there's one there. You can feel it with your finger, literally. And yeah, so poke them through, and I'll show you these two-sided snaps here. They're just, here's all the snaps for the job. So you got this on the inside that pokes through, and here's the snap part of it. And I squeeze them together with my specialty snap tool. There's different pieces. That's the two pieces for squishing those together. There's all different ones for all different types of snaps. Okay, so I've got the top installed. You can see there's this sewn flap, and I just push that metal bar right against the seam line inside and glue it to the metal bar. And then I've found the original holes and poked through for these snaps, which are now installed all the way along. I made sure to start with the center line and pull it out as tight as I can. I will say these webbing straps have been done incorrectly, and I don't have the piece to redo them properly. There's like a metal bar that goes through here, and then it's sewn onto that metal bar originally. That's how these were done. But what they've done is just installed this to the car and then pulled this down wherever it needs to go, and screwed it to this inner support. Yeah, it's hard to see in the dark here. Screwed it to this inner support rail right there. So they just pulled it down, did the tightening there after the fact, which is not how these were originally done. You're supposed to have that sewn in there. Anyway, so I'm just gonna follow what they've done previously. And yeah, so now I'm gonna flip this around and secure that metal bar again with its original bolts through these holes. Yeah, oh, I should mention, I did paint the visible side of this, but I think I'm gonna come in maybe with a brush and fix some of that just to protect from the rust. I've got a bit of that Pour 15 I can maybe use. Okay, so as you can see, I've got that metal bar bolted down. I'm not tightening them right up, like they're 3/4 of the way in, and I'm leaving them a little bit loose so that I can pull these webbing straps down and secure them with a couple screws along those inner frame rails. Again, that's not how they were done originally. It should have a little metal bar just under this bar that's sewn to hold that. But once it's you know, I'll be putting that back in, and it has a screw there that goes through the webbing and a screw there that goes through the webbing. So, and then there's an inner screw that holds the webbing in place first. So we're doing that, and then next I'm going to start installing these snaps to correspond with. It's hard to see in the darkness here, and excuse my camera here, I'm just going to polish the lens. So I'll be securing this with just putting those snaps in. I've just got to hold it up and mark where they go. And same thing with here. I can install those snaps, although remember, this has to go around like this. This is what pulls it forward. So that's going to be part of what helps keep this all tight. So what I'm going to do first is get those webbing straps secured so that that's nice and tight, and then I'm going to pull the top forward. You see you got your Velcro in here, but I'm going to pull the top forward and get it glued across that front header rail once those webbing straps are in place, and get this nice and set. And it's just a bead of glue across the front there, really easy. You can see this top is even marked, and it's already got a center line there, so I just got to mark it here and glue this up. I usually just use a brush by hand for doing that. So we'll get it all glued up, and then yeah, starting in the center, pull this tight and work out the wrinkles out both sides, sort of thing, as you pull it forward. So we'll get that established, but first of all, like I say, we got to get this webbing secured, and we'll go from there. Okay, so getting a bit ahead of myself here. So like I was showing you earlier, I've now glued this to the front. I've still got to wrap it around underneath, obviously. You can see the edge of the header there. Of course, that's all latched in place properly. So we had already done that earlier. So now on the inside, with that pulled tight, I've now gone through and installed these snaps, just using my snap tool. And what I do is I just use a bit of chalk on the actual male part, and then press it, and you'll have a chalk circle there, and I just punch out the center to put the snap through, and then press it together using my special tool. So, sorry, hopefully this isn't giving me seasickness. So we got that. Okay, and at the back, I've done the same here and installed the snaps on this back one. The back one comes around from underneath like that. Okay, so those all snap in place everywhere when you put the top up. And of course it's Velcroed along the top here. So this is looking pretty nice. I can pull the last out of that just by sticking it down to the Velcro. All right, so now all that's left, of course I've got the last step will be to fold the top back and glue the rest of this underneath that edge, and put in those little strips for holding it, like we removed at the beginning with rivets. So this will pull down nice, the Velcro. So now I've got to install, there's 2 snaps going along the back sides here. Actually, is it 2 or 3? 3, as you can see, 1, 2, 3. So I'll be installing those along here and pulling that nice and tight as I do that. And the way I like to mark where they go is I'll just take my little, they call a China graph pencil, white pencil, color the top of each snap, pull it tight and press it, and it'll leave a circle on where it needs to be, so you can punch out the center. So yeah, these are called a China graph. It's just a white pencil that marks easily on material like that. Okay, so you can see I've just colored the head of that snap, and you can see the white circle that's left, so I can just punch that out and install the snap there. Okay, and that finishes the top. So you can see I've installed these last 3 snaps as I was showing you, and I've now got that wrapped under and the pieces riveted on with the seal put back in, just like I showed you, all of it coming out. So that finishes it off. So now usually what I like to do is leave it up overnight. So I'll come back in the morning and then I'll give it a final steam. I just use like a wallpaper steamer, and just from the inside, and let it steam, and it just makes it that final bit taut like a drum skin. You don't want to go too tight. That's why I like to leave it up. And I'll just do certain specific areas where there's a little bit of wrinkle happening, and just catch those. And of course, yeah, good top maintenance. I always tell people, whenever you're storing the car for, you know, any amount of time, whether it be a couple weeks to months, always put the top up, and it'll extend the life of your top. Just getting it used to being in the upright position is gonna, you know, extend its life significantly. If it's always folded down, they tend to shrink in that lowered position, and then you go to put it back up and it's just too tight, won't reconnect. So there you have it. That's another one done for the road. So I'll come back in tomorrow morning and do a final steaming, and I'll show you just the difference of that. And there you have it. Until next time, I'm Jeff Chrysler of Right Way Heritage Trimming, and this was a TR6 top installation. We'll see you again.